Hey there, welcome back to my channel. This is Chris. I hope you're doing great. I do hope that your voice is doing better than mine. I lost it. I'm gonna tell you, that's a funny story. I was on my way back from a wedding that I shot with the Fuji X-H2, by the way. And between the Swiss and the Italian mountains, there was this magical, fantastical, absolutely gorgeous scenery, this landscape, and I had to stop, pull out my DJI Avata and take some cool shots. So yes, it was worth losing my voice for that. I'm gonna be doing another video very soon to review the Fuji 18-220 that I have right here. It was recently released. I'll tell you what I think about this lens. So if you didn't subscribe yet, please do so you don't miss that and the future videos coming up. So now let's take a look at the Fuji X-H2. So let's first start with the things I did like about this camera. The first thing is the sharpness and the clarity of the EVF. I find it very, very crisp, very sharp, very responsive. I think that's a great tool, especially when you shoot weddings, because you want to be able to see without any distractions what's happening in front of you, as if it was an OVF. And you want to see that quickly, and you want that in any lighting scenarios and situations. And in fact, it never let me down. And I could take some really cool shots. By the way, I had the Fujifilm 18mm f1.4, the newer version, glued on this camera the whole time. And I cannot tell you how happy I was with that focal length. I say it here and there, I said it many times, but this is really a great combo. The resolution of the photos is now 40 megapixels. I already had a bunch of you asking me, is it good 40 megapixels? Is it better than 24 or 26? Does it really make a difference? So I think it is great if you're someone that wants to zoom in your photos and do little touch-ups, such as, for example, for product photography, for portrait work, this type of things. Or if you're someone who wants to crop often, that is something great. Or if you want to print billboards or bigger size photos, they can also show you crisper details. I'll tell you a bit more on the con section of this video about these 40 megapixels, but on the pro side, I think it is great to have a little APS-C camera with 40 megapixels because for the price it costs, it is good to have. Let's talk about the shutter noise now. The shutter is very, very silent. In fact, I'm going to try to show you here. Let's see. There. Isn't that really, really cool? I mean, that's the kind of sound that I want to have on my cameras. For a wedding, this is a big difference. Now, if you're shooting just regular events, who cares about the shutter noise? It's not that bad on the XT that I normally use. But when I was shooting with my XT3 and I was shooting with this on each side, I can tell you it was a huge difference. And it was so good to have something silent that's not distracting. And when you're taking a photo close to someone and you go close to them right here and you're taking a photo and you just hear a little is actually great, because that way they're not distracted, they're, you know, watching the ceremony or talking among themselves, chit-chatting, and you can catch some good moments without being noticeable. Even though this is a bigger body than an XT3, for example, or an X Pro, or arguably, or an X100 series. In terms of ergonomics, it has a great grip. I said that also for the X-H2S when I did the review, but for the wedding purposes, or even when I was going around with my kids, with my family, or just taking photos of landscapes, I find it very comfortable, and you feel like you're not going to drop this thing. Now, I have small hands, so grip has never been a problem for me, but if you're someone that has bigger hands, this is going to be really cool, and I insist on the fact that it is great, and more Canon, Nikon, Sony-like, if you will. Let's now talk about subject and eye tracking. On the X-H2S, I said it is not the best. I still think it is not the best. I stand by that opinion compared to other brands such as Canon or Sony. But it was very useful to have that when I was taking photos of my kids, because as soon as you start opening your aperture a little more, it will be really hard to nail your focus. And I was surprised and good. I don't know if they did some software update or whatnot, but the tracking was actually excellent. It was like tracking on the eye of the subject. Now, I did not use this for the wedding. I admit I did not use the tracking feature once. The reason is because I want to be the one setting my focus, and I have my own way of taking my photos at weddings, and that is the good old old school, little focusing in the center, and then I reframe. So that's how I shoot my weddings. Now, overall, the speed of this camera, how it handles data, how it performs is really good. Like, it nails the focus, it has a great EVF, great form factor, the buttons are very accessible, everything is laid out in a way, even the fact that the screen, like we already had since the X-T4, but the fact that the screen can be put inside like this protects it when you're in a wedding, you have it on the side and it just hits on the side of your body like this. You're not gonna break it, you're not gonna scratch it. The battery, again, I went through the whole day, I shot all the photos of my kids. It was around 150 photos the next day that I shot, and right now the battery still has 3 bars out of 5, and I still didn't charge it. That's the standard battery that we find, for example, on the X-T4, on the GFX100S, etc. Let's now talk about the things that I did not like so much. First thing is, I'm gonna take the 40 megapixels back here, and I don't think it is necessary to have 40 megapixels on Fuji cameras. Now, I understand that this is geared towards more pros and people that maybe shoot, I don't know, like cars or animals, wildlife, and more, I guess, professional type of events. I'm a professional photographer, and I'm telling you, this is something that I don't need. 40 megapixels is a lot. It's only a difference. I mean, if you take it from 26, it's only 14 megapixels more. But I think the sweet spot for megapixels for regular use, even for pro use, is 18. And when you surpass the 18 and you go to 24 and 26, that's already a little more. But I think 24 and 26 was good on the XT series. Now, I personally hope they're not going to bring, unless you can change the resolution that you want to on your raw files and decide afterwards, but I hope they're not going to bring a fixed 40 megapixels into the XT series, for example, because it's heavy. The only real difference that I noticed, not even the quality, is how long Lightroom took to process the photos when I was trying to export them. I'm going back on this CF and SD card stuff and matter here. I found this to be really annoying. Again, and now even more so because I shot a wedding. And as you might know, if you shoot a wedding and you have a problem with your SD card, something goes wrong, you lose all your photos. That's why the XT and the X Pro series have dual SD slots, because if one goes wrong, you have a backup on the other one. Now you can do so, but you will have to use a CF Express card. And you can't use 2 SD cards. And I don't want to spend the money to buy a CF card when I don't need one. My Sony a7S III allows me to either use a CF or use an SD. That is the smart way to go. All right, let's now talk about the PASM or SPAM, however you want to call it, wheel. This little wheel here reminds me so much of Canon, of Sony, of Nikon. And it's great, it's fine, because it means that people from other brands can come into the Fuji brand and they will understand their way around. I personally get lost with all this programmable C1 to C7 and all that. I don't use my camera that way. When I have an event, I set my settings myself. I know what to set, how, and it takes me a few seconds and I'm good to go. Now, maybe someone else likes to have their programmed little features and menus and all that. I don't. To me, this is a drawback, and this is a reason not to buy this camera and to wait for example, an X-T5. As I said, the tracking is very good. The only thing and the only reason I did not use it for the wedding is because it starts tracking different people. And when you want to track, for example, let's say you want to track a person and there's someone else around or someone comes into the frame, you don't want the focus to just change. You know what I'm saying? Or you lock and then you try to refocus again and it just goes somewhere else, or it starts tracking like for group shots or whatever. That can be a little bit annoying. Other than that, it is a great feature. There, I was trying to make this video as real life as possible, really show you examples, show you how it is in real life, because one thing is specs and one thing is going down on the ground in the wedding and having all these unexpected things happening, and see how the camera actually handles it, and if you're able to take good photos and have a good shot in the end. At the end of the day, that's what we want. We want good photos that represent what happened during that wedding. Take care, see you in my next video, ciao.